right, now for something completely different. This is a shot on December 28th, by the way. And I have an old Ludwig drum set. Well, actually, old Ludwig hardware. And, you know, I fiddle around with time to time with playing. I've been playing for a very long time. I'm not good at it because I quit for decades. But I recently got back into it and found a used piece of hardware. I have an original one. It's called the Ludwig Hercules boom stand. And they started with these little plastic wing nuts, they call them. And inside is a serrated nut. But as you can see here, I've got this clamped down right now with a small hose clamp from Napa. There's little cracks all through it. And that means that the nut's kind of serrated on the outside. It goes inside this. But if this is all cracked, then it's going to slip. And so you can't tighten down what you need to tighten down. You can see minor little cracks in here as well. But that's not as bad. And here's a crack right here. You can tell right there that I'm running my finger over. But the cracks are all around here that holds the serrated nut. So I'm going to try something new. I've got the nut heating up right now, 500 degrees. We'll see if that's enough. It may not. I may have to get a torch out. And then I'm going to press it in there. And leaving this on. And then I'm going to plastic weld the outside to get it to hold. And then slowly, and then let it all dry, cool down. And then I'll plastic weld the outside of this. It may not be that pretty, but these things are running like 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks a piece. And they're classic, but if you don't take care of them, they will do these sorts of things. And obviously this one wasn't taken care of. I didn't do this. So someone else had done this. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Do a little more plastic repair here at the garage. Okay, here we go. We have it pretty heated. And there it is. I've reset it in. Now we're going to tighten the nut around it. The hose clamp that I got from Napa. We're going to tighten it really good here, but not so tight that you break it. Then remove the bolt. So what I have here is this thing is seated pretty well in there. I'm still not sure this is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just start to tidy up here with a little bit of plastic melting and welding. It's not going to look pretty, but no one's going to see this side anyway. So I'm just going to fill in the cracks here. Try and get it to not break open when I remove the hose clamp. Every little crack has got to be filled back in, or at least filled over to give it some structure and to give it some strength when you remove the hose clamp. Now, tricky part here is I'm going to have to get it to stand up a little bit. So I can start using a little bit of, this is just nylon zip tie that you cut off. Can easily be used, because it's strong, can easily be used to structure and replace plastic or fill in plastic. And you could use any color. This is black, of course. So I'm just gonna go over the cracks here and fill in the blank, and maybe even give this bolt a little bit of something to attach to. Okay, now that I've got it on there, I can move it out of the way and now smooth this out a little bit here. Okay. Now I will remove I'll go ahead and remove the hose clamp. Now this part's going to be tricky a little bit because the plastic that I welded on there might stick a little bit to the hose clamp. So we're going to move the hose clamp out further than we need to. Because, yeah, there's a little bit of overlap here, but it comes off pretty easy. And so then what I'll do is I'll smooth this down here where the hose clamp sort of gathered it and round or straighten up the edges here. Okay, so we still have little bits of plastic that is cracked here. And I'm going over one right now. All I'm doing is just filling in the crack now, because the bolt should have, with the clamp, should have pulled the plastic into it, and what's holding it now is the plastic sort of melting into the bolt, and it has been what you might call reformed to its shape, and so it won't spread out. Part of that is because it won't spread out is because I did this stuff right here at the top to keep it from coming apart again. Now I have to get this under a light. Be better to do under a bright light. I have a crack right here that goes all the way up. Kind of hard to see in this lighting, but I'm gonna melt this crack back up. And then if I have to put more plastic weld into it, I'm gonna do that. Now again, this is not gonna be pretty than it came out of the factory. It's just not. But if you don't wanna spend, tons of money on this stuff, then, this is a doable alternative. Let's see if I can get that in the shot here. I'm just gonna melt a little more of this zip tie into this. A little difficult to do. I should have it on a soft jawed vise right now. That would hold it better. So there I have a little bit of the zip tie. Melted into it, and I'm just going to try and spread it around as best I can. I don't want it looking like total shit. I've got some little cracks right here on the handle. All right. Now, a real test for this is going to be, what is this going to look like? Or how well is it going to hold when I get it in the cymbal stand? Because you kind of do have to snug it. The problem is if you put any pressure on this before, it would just skip. You could feel the bolt slipping and it wouldn't tighten down all the way. We just need it snug on a cymbal stand so it doesn't fucking move. And that's sometimes very difficult to do, but maybe we can get this done and I'll show you when we get to it. I've got one other of these babies heating up now. It's the same thing. It's a Ludwig nut. These are M6s or 1/4 inch by 20 thread count, thread pitch. And this one here, same thing. You can see the cracks right here on the end. I mean, it's not even, yeah, you can see them a little better. And on this one, on the handle, once again, there's one that has come up and over and up here, and one over here, over and up. This is where they tend to crack and fall off, and then come apart, and then one side only holds. It's quite amazing, actually. So, you know, Ludwig kind of knew what it was doing in the late 70s and early 80s when they made these babies, and they were, you know, a pretty doggone nice little setup at the time. They were kind of cool, and I've always liked them because they have hollow tubes. But anyway, that's all beside the point. Let's get this baby here prepped. And once again, I'm going to go down low here, and I'm just going to snug this up enough where when I get the nut, which is heating up to 450 degrees, I think I've got it, something like that. It's not 500. We'll just snug it up here a little bit, so when I press the bolt in that you saw earlier, then it will melt, and then I'll immediately tighten it while it's still hot, and the plastic on the inside will form around the nut. Okay, let's see what happens. All right, let me show you. This is the one I just did. You can see there's some little plastic welding in here. But let me try and show you, if I can, what this looks like when you tighten it down. So this is it. There's little jaws. They are just like that. They have little marking spots, so you can, you know, move it up or down, and when they lock into these jaws, it makes it solid. So it's the same thing here, and right now you can see I'm loose because I'm not seated into one of those jaws, and this is the one I just did again, and so you kind of have to move it back and forth and tighten it, but you don't go gorilla on it. And right here you can tell. So this worked. This worked. So, you know, maybe some of these musicians, what they can do, if they want to salvage these and they don't need it pristine and they don't want to spend 30 to 50 bucks on finding vintage ones, and they want to try and keep at least their stands stock, just send it to me. Send it to me. Drop me a line, and I'll fix this for you for cheap, way cheaper than you can buy one of these things off eBay or something. Okay, so anyway, this works. You can see my stand is not moving. My jaws are set. Now, before, there would always be a little play because the nut would rotate inside the cracked plastic. And it's not pristine, but this is in a spot that no one's going to notice if you're like gigging or something like that. All right, so there you go. Let's we'll get the next one up here in just a minute.
When things go down, you know, they don't stand beside you.
Here we go. I'm just going to screw the bolt right into the end, not very far, and then set it in. And then carefully remove it. And then set the hose clamp. It's hot. It's hot. Okay. Hopefully that'll be good enough on this one. I still see a few cracks not shutting down on me like I need them to be. But we're going to let it sit just like this for a while. Let it cool and let the metal kind of soak into the plastic.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Same thing. Second verse, same as the first. We're just gonna go ahead and start filling in the cracks here. Gonna melt them first on the end, and then we're gonna fill it in with the zip tie. Okay, here we go. Make sure I'm in the shot. I am. I'm also beefing this up a little bit too, you know. I'm adding, I've got the hose clamp a little bit higher. So I'm adding material to this bolt, essentially. Plastic material to the bolt. And that is because, you know, hopefully it'll give these cracks on this end just a little more area and a little more real estate to grab a hold and to keep this end of the bolt from cracking again. You know, as long as you don't gorilla this stuff, because if you gorilla this stuff, it's gonna crack again, even if it was brand new. I'm just getting a little bit here out of the track, the threads here. And one more little run over here to smooth it over. And now we'll take this hose clamp off. Once again, it's got to go a little bit bigger because I created a lip around the edge, which, as we did in the last one, we're going to smooth out. So a little bit of lip here. We're going to smooth that out. And then we'll fill in the cracks. Okay. Let's take care of the first big crack here. And got a huge crack on this side. This one in some ways was worse because the cracks in it are humongous. All right, let's fill this one in. They're really big, and it was still kind of wide crack down here. So this is the tricky part, trying to get it to hold together here. I don't think you can see down in there, but you can tell what I'm going to do. I'll show you here in the after. That's not going to work, though. So let's try it like this, shall we? So I have an opening. Take my hammer, my small hammer. That's not going to work either. Yeah, there we go. My socket will help. Or not. There we go. This will do it. Okay, it's going to be kind of tricky, but we're going to melt more of this plastic right on top of this big crack that I just did. And it's okay if there's a big blob here, because we're going to smooth it out anyway. There we go. We'll see if that holds. Now I got another crack right here. It goes all the way to length too. Yeah, this one was definitely worse. Telltale sign will be if this thing can hold on to the cymbal, the next part of the cymbal stand that I'm gonna. Okay. Once again, we're gonna melt a bunch on this again. It's almost like on the exact opposite side too. There we go. I've got a pretty big, ugly blob here. I'm gonna try and shape it. Move some up into the crack there. Got another crack right here. Same process. Okay, here we go with the next part here, and cool down a little. And this part here holds the cymbal itself. It goes in here like this. You can see that, and it's got a carriage bolt that goes in it. And here's the carriage bolt right here. Okay. It's got one of those sort of hex bolts, and it goes in like that, of course. And so this is going to go through here, and you can see the notches. Maybe even hear them. So what you want to do is get those things notches. There's a washer that goes on it. And then, of course, what we just fixed is right here. I'm going to try and screw this on there. So far, no slipping, which is very good. But you know, if you want to adjust where your cymbal sits, then that's what you do, and you make sure it's in place. Just gave it a little tweak there. And I need to fill another part here, so we're going to do that. So stand by. Okay, we're going to try this again. I think what I did, and now I just lost my washer, so stand by. Stand by, Americans. Okay. So what I did this time is I let it cool down a little bit more and let it form. We'll see if this does any good. Now the first one worked great. This one had more longer cracks in it. That's the only difference between the two. So it's still cracking somewhere. We're gonna find out where here. I don't like that. I don't like that. It's still a little bit. A little bit iffy. Okay, I got it beefed up a little bit. I let it cool. I beefed up some of those long cracks in particular. And here we go. And you can't hear any cracks this time. I'm gonna try and get it set. There we go. That's it. So now, of course, they don't look pretty in here. And I got a little crack in here that I wanted to toughen up. So there it is. Both of them are fixed. So yeah, this is a Ludwig Hercules stand, circa about 1980. And right there. And these ones with the bolts on them here, there, and here, these don't usually bust. I've never really seen them. But the ones with the nuts on the inside here and here, these are wing bolts. These are wing nuts. Well, the bolts usually don't seem to crack, but these babies do. And it's because they need more torque to lock it into the teeth that are on the inside of each of these areas. So this is what I would say. I'll put, if you look in the description, you should be able to find a way to get a hold of me. If anybody out there wants to save their old stands and not have to buy either replacement ones of these, or I mean, you can find basically any 1/4 20 that'll work, but it won't look like this, and it won't have the Ludwig stamping on it. You just get a regular bolt. You could do anything really. Buy new wing nuts that Ludwig does sell, and they'll go on there sort of well. And I've got some of those coming, so I can see if there's any difference. But if you want these things to be replaced, I'm not sure of the longevity of these babies. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I'm not going to say that this is a permanent fix, because anybody that goes gorilla on these things, and even the nuts, the bolts, then you're going to crack this plastic. But if you just are enough to snug it up, then you're going to have a great stand, and it'll be pretty much as good as when you got it. Okay? All right. Hang loose, man. Keep playing. Keep drumming. Practice. Rudiments are important. Rudiments are important. All right. Hang loose.